Hey everybody, my name is Kara Brown. I am an urban fantasy author and I am here to talk to you about an author platform. This is a topic I do want to talk about because as somebody who does go to a writing group on a weekly basis, I encounter a lot of writers who have not even begun the platform and a lot of them have misconceptions about it. And unfortunately, there's just too much to talk about in one sitting to be able to convey everything that is involved with an author marketing themselves. And I thought I would just do a series of videos to help break that down just a little bit. My experience in this topic has to do when I was running a business and I was trying to improve sales. I did a lot of research, I went to a lot of seminars, and I kind of figured out everything that needed to be done in order to generate more traffic towards the business. It was successful and it remained successful until I left. In regards for using this for author purposes, I did go to several seminars and a bunch of workshops where I did listen to people talk about the things I'm about to share with you, and I'll be honest, nothing that I'm about to convey is some kind of hidden secret. So what I'm really doing is taking all the information that's out there and trying to condense it into basically a watchable format for you. Now, I understand a lot of people don't like to engage in the author marketing and the author branding because it's intimidating. It's a huge learning curve, and then what makes it worse is that we as writers are very socially awkward, to the point where we just don't like going outside. And when you realize everything that you have to do in order to basically meet all these parameters, it is very intimidating and it can be very overwhelming. But it does need to be done and you have to be the one that does it. And the main reason that I say that you need to do it is because one of the misconceptions that I do hear from other people is that they're under the impression that their publisher is going to do it and they're going to handle all of that for them. And I hate to burst your bubble, but it doesn't work that way anymore. In fact, more and more publishers are actually requiring authors to already have their own website, to already have their social media, and to basically maintain it themselves because it's cheaper for them to make you do it. But the other reason that it needs to be you who does it is because if something breaks and you have to wait on somebody else to fix it, it remains broken, and sometimes that can cost you. And just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, yesterday my newsletter link broke and I had no idea. I thought it was totally fine, and somebody reached out to me on Instagram and said, hey, I tried to sign up for your thing and this is what happened to me, and I was just like, what? But if I had let somebody else handle it, I would have had to contact them, wait for them to respond, wait for them to fix it, where I was able to go in, figure out what was wrong, how it was broken, and basically fix it on my own. And it took all of a half hour. But there are a lot of benefits that do come with engaging yourself on an author platform and social media. For example, the only reason I have my job at Otherworld Comics right now is because I talked to the CEO of Otherworld Comics, and he liked what I was talking about, and he enjoyed my drawings, and he offered me a job, and naturally I said yeah. But I think more importantly, one of the things that a lot of people don't really take into consideration when they're looking at networking in that way is that you're networking yourself professionally, but you're also meeting a lot of other kindred writers and people that are going through the same struggle as you, and they'll be able to relate and support you. In fact, I want to say that the writing community that I've met on Twitter has probably been the most supportive and friendly group of people I have ever met. Unfortunately, the very last reason why you need to do it, and you need to do it now and not wait for your book to be out, is because a lot of marketing experts say that in order for you to have a successful platform, you actually need to have it up and running up to 2 to 3 years before your book comes out. And that's a long time. But this also makes a kind of sense because if you're already established and people know who you are, and then you come out with the product that you're trying to sell them, it's not going to be like some guy running at you in the parking lot trying to sell Girl Scout cookies. Sure, I want the cookies, but I don't know the guy and I don't know why he's not a Girl Scout. Being familiar and having people kind of know who you are when you come out to say, I have this thing, makes it easier for them to both trust you and more likely to buy whatever it is that you are trying to sell them. Now, I've kind of told you about why you need to do it. Now I'm going to move a little bit more into how to do it, but these are things that I'm going to bring for your awareness to kind of consider, and in later videos I'm going to dive a little bit more into the mechanics of this so that way you'll have a better idea of how to engage with these strategies I'm about to suggest to you. Now, the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, how do you want to present yourself to the public? Think about the image or the first thing that you want people to think of when they think of you and what it is that you are trying to sell. A lot of people are under the impression that their book is going to be the thing that gives the impression that readers should have, but you need to take into account that people will interpret things very differently, and the last thing that you want to do is have a bunch of various people make assumptions about who you are and how you conduct yourself and then communicate, because that unfortunately leads to misconceptions and misunderstandings, and some people are radical and will take a fascist stance against you, and it's better to kind of give them that impression from you rather than let them figure it out on their own. So for example, when people think of me, I'm hoping when they think of me, they think about the art that I do on Instagram. They're thinking about, some of my humor that I like to have on Twitter. And I also want to be seen as somebody who is kind of contributing to the writing community and not just kind of somebody who's like, give me. That's kind of why I make these videos, because I am trying to provide resources that are free for people. And the big reason that this is important is that while your books are going to be the thing that sells, you are going to be the thing that sells your book. And a lot of people want to buy things from people that they know and feel are approachable and that they understand versus just some stranger that they literally have no idea, like they just came out of nowhere. Who is this person? Which kind of takes us and leads us into what your author brand is going to be. Now, the author brand is basically the thing that you are known by. Like when somebody says your name, like the thing about you just comes to mind. So for example, when I used to work for the business that I usually refer back to, it was a nonprofit group, and it was a nonprofit group that was supporting women who were suffering from domestic and substance abuse. So when I would say that name to people, they would instantly think, oh, it's that charity group that helps women. That's kind of what you're aiming for in this. Now, when you're formulating this brand of yours, you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. The first one is, why do people care about you? What is it about you that makes you both relatable and approachable that people want to identify with? The next one that I have written down here is, how are you going to build this relationship? Are you going to do it like via social media, email lists? Like, how are you going to cultivate these bonds that you are forming with other people? The other one is in what way that you are going to be consistent. This one's kind of important because when you are making your brand, you're basically saying that you are this thing, and suddenly breaking out and going left is going to kind of be very jarring for people, and it's going to startle them, and they're going to kind of lean back from you a little bit. It would kind of be like me. I write urban fantasy, right? And then suddenly I start writing BDSM erotica. Like, that's going to be very weird for people who are usually used to me writing like urban fantasy. The last thing that you need to ask is what methods of engagement are you going to use? This is going to be a personal preference that you are going to decide on. I personally like to engage with people on Instagram and Twitter because that's just where I get the most responses from, but that doesn't mean that those are the ones that you have to do. There are so many options that are out there, which I will cover in a later video, but ask yourself in what way that you are going to basically speak with your audience. Now, these are questions that I've asked you. I just want you to kind of think about them and kind of, in your own time answer them. But I do want to move on to some strategies that you can use in order to help build up your author platform. So the first thing that a lot of people kind of they sometimes do but don't do correctly is offering free content. Basically, when you want to cultivate readers and a following, you need to make sure that these people are right for you, and the only way that they're going to know that they are right for you is by providing some kind of content that they can basically make a judgment on. You can do this with a free story on your website or on Kindle or something like that, and people will read it and see if they like it, and if they do, then they'll keep following you. If not, then at least they'll know before they find out later, and then they'll have a lost time investment. People get really disgruntled if they do a time investment and feel like their time has been wasted, so just keep that in mind. Email list is another really big one. I was actually kind of surprised about this earlier in the year, but then as I continued to do research, I found out that it was actually really beneficial to have an email list and a newsletter that you send out to that list, mostly because it's a direct line of communication that you have to your audience, and that's something that you do want. An author website should probably be the first thing that you start working on. That is definitely a huge thing. Think of it like the foundation or the hub in which you basically kind of spread everything out on. The big reason for this is because when people hear something new, what's the first thing they could do? They go do an internet search for it, and you need to be searchable. People need to type in your name or the name of your book, and they need to find your website within, I want to say, the first 5 links that pop up, and the ones that come before that should be areas that are selling your book. Now, your website does need to look professional, it does need to be easy to navigate, and it does need to have content. If you have a site and it's stagnant, people are going to see that, and it's going to put a lot of them off. One of the things that you can do with your author website is you can link whatever social media you are attached to onto it, and that's definitely something that you should do, because social media is another strategy, but when a lot of people think about social media marketing, they think about selling stuff on social media, and my recommendation for you is to not actually sell things on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. It's actually to just reach out and meet people and cultivate relationships with other people. Social media is great for having a direct line of communication via a method that people like to use, but more importantly, it's a great way to raise awareness. You're not going to have people sign up for your newsletter if they don't know that there is a newsletter, and one of the things that you can do is you can mention it in whatever platform that you like to talk about it in. And since we are talking about marketing on social media, we should probably talk about paid ads. If you try to do something via paid advertisement, it can garner results, but here's the thing I'm going to tell you. I've in all the seminars and all the workshops that I've gone to with various authors, either indie or hybrid or traditional published, I have at some point, like, you know, kind of raised the question of, like, you know, what are your thoughts on paid advertisements? And the thing that I've heard frequently is that the results are overall mixed. A lot of people actually don't pay attention to adverts until they've seen it like over 7 times. Before then, it's just kind of like noise that's filtering, you know, in whatever feed that they're paying attention to. But if they see it enough times, then they'll actually get curious and click on it, sorry. And you have to pay a lot of money for them to be able to see that 7 times. A lot of the authors that I did speak to did say that paid advertisements was an overall loss for them. Some did say that while it did get like people to actually click on like their group pages and things like that, it didn't always lead into sales. And the only time that it was actually reported to be beneficial is if there was already a series that was out, completed, and there was a discount on it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my series isn't done, so I'm probably not going to be engaging in paid adverts anytime soon. So that's pretty much everything that you need to know in regards to an introduction for author branding. As I said, I'm going to have further videos that come out where I talk about like actually making the website and how to use Twitter and what the hell is a hashtag and all that stuff for you. What I would like to do is, if you are watching and you are an author and you actually do have an author website, would you be willing to link your site down below? And the only reason I'm asking this is because I do want to connect with other writers and other authors, and I do want to like find their websites. Sometimes finding an author website can be really hard because I don't even know where to look, which I'm also going to talk about when we start moving into social media next week. I actually wasn't going to ask this question, but I'm kind of curious in regards to when it comes to author branding and author marketing. What is the thing that you find most intimidating about it? And the reason I want to know is because as I start to make these videos, I do want to address the worries and concerns that my beautiful viewers have and be able to break that down into manageable parts for you. But that is all I have for you today. If you found this content to be useful, please feel free to subscribe. I am posting 3 videos a week until the end of April. If you would like to find out if I know what I'm talking about in regards to this writer nonsense, I have a link below. It takes you to my website where you can sign up for my newsletter. In signing up for my newsletter, you do get access to a free short story, and you can use that to kind of gauge if I know what I'm talking about in regards to all this writer nonsense. Ha! 1 goal done. That's me done, and I hope you all have a great Wednesday.